Welcome to TheSystem.ca, the art and science of coaching, providing innovative information on the speed, power, recovery, wellness, strength, and conditioning for both athletes and active individuals.
I want to introduce you to our special guest. His name is Alfonso D'Alessio. Alfonso and I go back a few years, let's say.
Decades.
That's beside. But Alfonso works in the fitness industry, and he's on not the training side. He's the guy who provides the equipment for the training. So he's like the king of all the quickie marts with respect to all the gym equipment. So I'm gonna give him the floor because he can do a better job of introducing himself. Go ahead.
Hey, Yusuf, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
No problem. My pleasure.
So yeah, I've known Yusuf for probably 20 plus years since York University. I'm also a graduate of from York, Kinesiology and Health Science. And I shortly after I graduated from Kinesiology and Health Science at York, I found my way into the health and wellness industry by mistake. I think that's something when you talk to a lot of people and their career path sometimes, but it was a good mistake. Very happy that I'm in the industry. It's a good industry. It's a growing industry. Even right now during the pandemic, there's a lot of pros and some cons, but I think once we get out of this, it's going to be positive. I've been in health and wellness for over 20 years, selling to dealing all sides of the commercial health and wellness retail business, in-home fitness, studio, large club, clinics, and providing the fitness equipment solutions and financing for a lot of these people, trying to help them with their dreams of opening up their facilities and helping them understand the business side of health and wellness.
Right.
So
pretty extensive background. So it's safe to say that Alfonso basically has some good inside information, and hopefully we can pull that out of him to give us more insight into basically trends going forward, past, present. So with regards to that, so give us an idea of what the industry was like, Alfonso, pre-COVID. So this is before everything happened. What was going on at that time? What was your business like? I mean, was it booming, not booming? Give me an idea here.
Business over the last, I would say 15 years has changed from bigger box to smaller solutions to medium-sized boxes, and just the whole fitness, how people access fitness has been changing over the last 15 years. And up until recently, pre-COVID, I would say business was good. I installed a couple $1 million of equipment into 3 or 4 new facilities in Ontario, and it was pretty awesome. And actually, my last install was actually completed on the Friday, and then on the Monday was the lockdown.
Wow.
So it was pretty crazy, and these sales cycles are so long, you become entrenched. You're part of your customer's business, and you really wanted to see them do well. And once that happened, there was a lot of question marks of where the industry and where that particular customer's business was going to go. So again, pre-COVID, it wasn't crazy booming, but it was busy for sure. A lot of inquiries, a lot of people doing, studios, trying to fulfill their dream in a 5,000 square foot space or a 10,000 square foot space, talking to a lot of people in Ontario and across the country. And then, during COVID, March, I think 12th that happened, March 13th, the brakes went on.
Right.
And the brakes went on hard on the commercial side. And I like to consider commercial like Formula One. And the technology, trickle-down technology.
Yeah.
You're racing, you see the Hondas, the Ferraris, the McLarens on an F1 track. Eventually, years later, that trickles down into the car that you drive.
Right.
no different than what you see in the gym years later. You'll see that in your house.
Yeah. Right.
So obviously the home market exploded. Like I've had customers, friends of mine that own retail stores that have done in 2 months what they were doing in a year.
Wow.
Like a good retail store in a year would do 1.5 to $2 million in sales.
Right.
And they're doing during the pandemic between 400,000 and 600,000 a month.
Right. I guess the problem there would be then supply chain getting more stuff coming in, right? That was the whole thing, right? So even though you
Yes,
stuff, which is great, but then you've got no stock to replenish it.
lead times became crazy. You know what, Yusuf? I just heard a bike shop closed down.
Wow.
Because like a cycling shop closed down because they sold through their product and they had no product till 2022.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the problems now, I guess, too. The fitness stores, like they're just replenishing stock. I mean, you may sell the stuff, which is great, but then
when are you going to get it?
You can sell now.
Yeah, what are you going to not what are you going to eat next month or in 2 months from now? What can you eat today? And like you said, the supply chain has gone a little bit crazy, and because factories, they're used to producing, 1,000 units a month for the last 10 years, and then you're asking them to produce 10,000 units, and that's still not enough a month.
Sure. Right.
So, but a lot of retailers have gotten creative. They've looked internally within Canada for manufacturing, which is good, for benches and racks, some plates. Cardio generally comes from Asia.
Yep.
And so you'll see the growth in fitness has been it has grown in cardio, but the weights, lifting, the bumper plates, the kettlebells, the racks,
yes,
the dumbbells, that has all grown tenfold.
Yeah. And I mean, I saw on Facebook one time, I think normally it's like $1 a pound for weight, and it's like 3 pounds. It's like,
yeah, if you're lucky, it's $3. Now, don't forget, the harder it's become more difficult for the reseller to obtain these products to sell to you.
Yes.
So now the manufacturer is bumping up their prices. Like you said, so before, let's just say the true cost was 50 cents a pound, and then the retailer sells it to you for $1 a pound. Now the retailer's cost is $1.50 a pound.
Mm.
And the reseller is like, well, come on, man. And the manufacturer is saying, well, take what you can get or you don't get anything.
Yeah.
So that's changed.
Do you think that sort of scenario would also foster the reality of maybe less quality products being produced because they're trying to mass produce everything, like trying to, is that a possibility?
Very good point. Very good point. I think, no, I don't see quality being an issue in regards to how they manufacture. I see maybe more, what's the word I'm looking for? I see more products in the market at lower price points because they're easier to obtain.
Okay.
They're easier to sell through. Like the quality of the product is still, a rubber hex dumbbell, whether it's $1 a pound or $5 a pound, that rubber is going to chip eventually over 5 or 6 years in your house, dropping them weights.
Right.
Urethane dumbbells, urethane products generally last much longer. The welds. That's a really good question, Yusuf. I don't foresee that, quality falling that much, even though manufacturing has increased. Because don't forget, a lot of manufacturers do have quality control.
Right. And I guess they'd have to because the liability, it's such
liabilities. And don't forget, there is some type of warranty.
Yes.
Available. So
do you think like Canadian manufacturers would be able to, get in on the action now? I mean, obviously before everything kind of
Yes.
China and some of the
Yes.
other countries that producing this stuff cheaper, because of this scenario now, do you think it's possible that Canadian manufacturers can get in there and say, you know what, carve out a small niche in terms of, you know what, reliability of, they can produce the products and also quality, but maybe better quality standards? I don't know, like
For sure. 100%, Yusuf. So you'll see a lot of manufacturers today over the last 6 months that have come out of nowhere that are producing benches and racks.
right. Yeah.
Benches and racks, benches and racks, benches and racks. Because, don't forget, like, so Yusuf, if you had a store and you were ordering from overseas, you would have to buy 1,000 units.
That's right.
Right? So there's always a cost quantity relation. And if you bought it from someone local, it would be a small batch production. You can buy 10 or 20.
Right.
So, and generally the quality on those 10 or 20 are much higher. The
Right.
grade of steel is much better. The paint is much better. The manufacturing is better. Even to the bolts that they use on these benches and racks made in Canada are much better. But yeah, for sure, there's a lot of companies that have sort of pivoted
Right.
to manufacture these products because they're steel manufacturing companies and they have high skilled workers. And I know to a lot of people, a rack is a rack is a rack. It's a 3x3 tube or a 2x3 tube or even a 2x2 tube. But there is some engineering behind it for safety standards,
Yes.
for ease of use to the end user. So yeah, for sure. It's
also,
definitely created an opportunity for Canadian companies to create some revenue.
Yeah, it's also like, the thickness of the metal, also the
The gauge steel.
the type of gauge they use,
Yep.
softness of steel. Do they file down the edges? I mean, all these smaller things that
Yep.
maybe sometimes when you buy something cheap, it is cheap for a reason, right? So
Correct.
yeah, and then you get the really high end stuff, which I won't name. We've talked about this, with very, very high end bumper plates, but then you can go to something lesser and you probably get the same thing, but probably just same grade steel, but basically this is where the branding comes in, and people
For
obviously
sure.
trust the brand, and that's the whole
Yeah.
idea, brand sort of thing. So during COVID, what happened? Like, what was the scenario there in terms of the gyms? Like,
For sure.
they're basically going. Some people are going under. Some people. Now, all that equipment has got to go somewhere. Where is that going? Like, who's picking up the tab on that, and then who's flipping it? Like, how's the recycling version aspect of? I mean, typically, I remember, Good Life used to have their older equipment. They would have their own store set up at Highway 7, I think, in Kiel there, and that was theirs. They would push out some of the refurbished stuff for a much lesser price, but then it would, that's how it get. They would, get their new stuff coming in, right? So what was happening? It's
So during COVID, so on the fitness side, in regards to physical locations that had closed down because of COVID, I think the vast majority of those were studios, small one-off studios that were paying rent. So they didn't have a ton of equipment in those spaces. They had, benches and racks and barbells and dumbbells and yoga mats and some pieces of cardio. And they would just, Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace, and these people would recoup some money that they were losing because the equipment, they got whatever monies they put into it over 5 or 6 years to help them with their business. They were able to sell. On the large scale, there were a couple clubs that went sideways that I know of here in Ontario, and it seems like a good opportunity, but the landlord. So there's two ways it goes down. One is the owner still has possession of the equipment, has a good relationship with the landlord, and works something out with the landlord where he can sell the equipment and then pay the landlord some of his lost rent.
Right.
In that case, again, and then the second scenario is the tenant, the fitness, the club owner, basically lost the business, and now the landlord has all this equipment. So either way, the market has fluctuated for both scenarios at the end of the day, because what a spin bike was worth pre-COVID used was $500, and that same spin bike, exact same spin bike, during COVID is worth $1,200.
Wow.
So, and then you have to, so the resale market has been basically these club owners or the landlord would have someone within their company post stuff on Facebook or post stuff on Kijiji to sell. When you have a large club going sideways with 50 pieces of cardio, 100 pieces of strength, that's a different animal.
Right.
Even though that's always going to be a different animal, because even though the market is everywhere and it's super high, there's a physical cost of labor to move 50 pieces of cardio, to store 50 pieces of cardio, to refurbish 50 pieces of cardio.
Yeah.
So generally, people are just trying to sell direct to the consumer and create that, keep those margins,
Right.
the club owners or the landlords. But again, if the landlord takes possession of the equipment, his business is not selling equipment.
Right.
His business is being a landlord, so he wants to get rid of the equipment as quick as possible. So he would call in someone to buy everything at once. So let's just say you had $800,000 worth of equipment 5 years ago in a beautiful gym, right? And now you are able to, the landlord takes it over and then he sells it for $150,000. But the real value there is probably $250,000.
Yeah.
But you gotta, so you have your $250,000, then you back out, it's 4 or 5 trailers, it's 10 guys, it's 4 days, finding storage, cleaning the equipment. So it's so that number on the bigger purchases hasn't changed that much. It's gone up a little bit, but on the one-offs, that pricing has increased for resale to the end user.
Okay.
So so hopefully that answered your question on what's going on with the equipment and how it's getting to people's homes from gyms or facilities.
Right. So obviously now we're still kind of in COVID, but
Yep.
What do you think? What's your predictions? Like, I mean, obviously we have to wait now for fairly 2:00 is a big announcement, but let's hope to keep fingers crossed. But post COVID, I mean, you mentioned on our discovery call, you mentioned something about Peloton, so you might want to give me some, talk about that.
So I'm not just making this up. I do have some background in this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I helped launch Bosu in Canada when I was skinnier and I had hair. Yeah, and I also helped launch the Cybex Art Trainer. I was at the beginning there with Snap and Anytime, seeing those trends, Orange Theory, seeing those trends. The one thing I missed on was TRX.
Really?
So I missed on TRX. So everything I've sort of seen, I'm like, that's going to be good, that's going to be good, that's going to be good. TRX is like, what's this guy doing here? Who's going to go to a park with this thing and work out, right? But then eventually, they got education behind it, and it took the company in a different direction. So post-COVID, I think there's going to be a big rebound in our industry. Okay. I genuinely feel that. And the only reason why I say that is because last year during the lockdown, when the Ontario allowed the clubs to reopen, everybody in the industry knew that the cancellations were coming. Everyone was terrified and scared about that. But nobody foresaw the signups. So some low-cost, high-volume clubs in Toronto, I know one in particular, they had record months, and even high-end clubs in 1 month in the summer had record months. So to circle back to your question, with Peloton and the club business and the home side, and with what I do, my friends telling me that, I'm out of a job next year because everyone's going to be working out at home. I think health and wellness is a lifestyle. I think you have an argument, let's just say there's 1 million members in Canada that belong to a health club, health and wellness type facility.
Right.
And you can argue that 50% of those people have some type of fitness at their house, whether a ball, stability ball, treadmill, bike. And I feel that it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about Peloton, obviously Peloton has been tremendous for our industry. They've helped us to stay relevant. They've been big advocates and created almost a new category for a lot of other companies like Echelon or Bowflex, really to, Peloton being an industry leader in that market segment. But don't forget, with all the great things Peloton has done, they were losing money.
Right.
At a record amount pre-pandemic.
This is pre-pandemic, yeah.
Losing a ton of cash.
Right.
Lots. Like more than I'll ever make in my lifetime. In a day.
Is Peloton owned by Livestrong? Is that part of that group or no?
No. It's a standalone group. Peloton is a standalone group. Okay. So when the pandemic happened, I think you can see, if you go online, you can see their stock prices went from $50 to $100. I think they peaked at $153.
Wow.
Within a year.
Wow. Big jump.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That being said, once they announced the vaccine, their stock price took a little bit of a dip. And now they're at, I think, $110 a share.
Right.
Over since January.
Stabilized a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I think and one thing that they did too, which was great, is they really introduced the subscription model to the home user, where people weren't willing to pay for anything.
Yeah.
Because they can get online for free. And they came out with such great content, such great instructors. The product was awesome. And people justified to pay for it. They had a great marketing strategy, and that's why they were spending so much money. I think, the next... Yusuf, fitness is social.
Yeah,
people are social beings.
Agreed.
This whole thing of online, no touch, no smell, no sweat. Obviously now during the pandemic, it's ideal.
Yes.
But post-pandemic, people are social animals, man. Yeah, they want to go out. They want to be around other people. They want to go to restaurants. Even when Yusuf, last summer when everything was open, I tried to get a reservation at a restaurant with my family. They're like, come at 9:30, and I was calling 2 days prior.
Wow.
So they were busy. So people want to get back out and see people, and I think, post-pandemic, I see, in a perfect world, I know for sure the health club business is going to bounce back.
Yeah.
100%. It's going to be more of a premium now because there's going to be more costs involved. You're going to get better educators within the facility. There's going to be higher cleaning costs. So eventually, they're going to have to give hand those costs over to the person paying the membership.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I've always said this to everyone that I talk about fitness. Can you put a price on your health?
Wow. Yeah, I think that's and you only know that price when you're sick.
Correct. 1,000, 1,000,000%. And Yusuf, I'm embarrassed. I'm in the industry. I've been in the industry 20 years. I'm a kinesiologist. And I, given up a lot of my health for my family, for my business, for my just to be around my kids, and and I got to get it back. And like we said, like, you don't know how important health is and how small a fee it is.
But in your getting a bit personal, but in your case, you'd be surprised how little it takes. But if you just do the right things,
Yes.
And just sort of view it as a journey, as opposed to work with every day, each day, do one thing every day. Just keep doing it consistently over time. Always wins the race. It takes a long time. I remember from my own training when I was like 14, I had a broomstick, and I worked up to a barbell when I was about 16 with my coach. And then by 18, I was like 135. And then by 29, I was doing, 595 for 3. It took a long time, but you just have to, and there's a lot of things mentally, physically. But if it's like you said, you said a very important point. It's your lifestyle. So if you just change your lifestyle a little bit, so I always say, diet is not always what you eat. It's but basically who you hang around with, what you do. All these things are your diet that you consume, both obviously physically, but as well as emotionally, mentally. All these things. So, but this idea of Peloton is really interesting, and some people would scoff. I know some people would say, "Oh, they'll scoff at it." Even CrossFit, for example, TRX. But you look at some of these things, and had it not been for CrossFit, you probably wouldn't have had like this huge resurge in Olympic weightlifting. Olympic weightlifting was
100%, 1,000%.
With this always sort of like this, outside thing that people did, and but all of a sudden now it's like mainstream, and people are talking about Takahatsu, the super heavyweight, and what he's going to do in Tokyo, and hopefully he's going to break 500 kilos total for the 2 lifts. But so you never hear that kind of stuff, let's say 10 years ago. So all these trends that I sometimes look at them thinking, okay, I get it. At the same time, I'm thinking these things sort of help bring about industry changes, good or bad.
For sure.
And they create sub-industries from that, et cetera, et cetera. So, you can laugh at it all you want to a certain degree, but in a lot of ways, some of these things, because of their presence, made things more accessible to the average person.
Correct, 100%. And even to the younger athlete, which is super, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so we could always argue where it fits in the context. If you're, let's say, an athlete trying to use some of those elements in your training, whether or not it's going to, pan out for you, that's another question in itself. But the main thing here is that these larger elements, these trends, create smaller sort of spin-offs and bring forth an element maybe that was lost at one point, but because it's now promoted in probably in a more, let's say, proper branding manner, it becomes more popular. I mean, buying a bumper plate, let's say 10 years ago, people will look at you like, what is that?
Yeah, for sure. What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, and but yeah, it's pretty interesting with respect to that industry. So you're saying in the next, once the vaccine comes out, you get to a certain stabilization point, you're going to see a little bit more. You can see more specialization in.
That's a good point. So what I see happening post-pandemic, once everything reopens, you're going to see a lot of these facilities reopening.
Okay.
So a lot of Alfonso Fitness Studio, I had
Okay.
5,000 square feet, then I lost my space. I'm on CERB or on some type of assistance. Probably within 12 months, I'm going to try to figure out, I'm going to beg, borrow, steal, try to reopen my space again. I think the one big change in the fitness industry is the legitimacy of the industry. You see a lot of big business now trying to get involved in health and wellness.
Yes.
Because it's a subscription-based model. So you see a ton of venture capitalist groups dipping their toes in, buying up large chains, funding large chains regionally and nationally in North America and Europe. So coming out of the next 6 months, I think there's going to be a resurgence. A lot of people say there's already too many fitness clubs here in the GTA or fitness options here in the GTA. 9 Round, Orange Theory, F45, Good Life, LA Fitness, Anytime Fitness, Bar, Hourglass. There's a whole bunch of these smaller boutique places. And I think what you're going to have is more,
Wow.
believe it or not. Well, Yusuf, if you can have 4 pizza locations on 4 corners of a major intersection, you have a Pizza Nova, you have an Amato Pizza, you have a Pizza, and then you have some specialty like Toroni or Pizza Libretto, all within 100 meters of each other and all doing well, somewhat well. I think you're going to see that model in fitness, where you're going to have an Orange Theory, you're going to have an Anytime Fitness down the street. You might have a Good Life, and then around the corner from that, you might have the System. And people are going to go to each. People might have multiple memberships, which they
Yeah.
already do.
Yeah. I see that, because even with myself, I notice a lot of my clients, I mean, they would come from parts of outside the GTA, but they would have their own membership at their local club, and I would just kind of give them a little bit of what to do, and then they would do it on their own, right? So it's just
Yeah.
logistics wouldn't be practical coming all the time, but yeah, I see people doing that a lot.
Yeah, and as the one thing we're taught, I think that the best thing that this pandemic has taught everybody is that you need to be healthy.
Yeah.
And there's going to be the government. I'm not going to name which government, but the government in a year from now is going to spend tens of millions of dollars on these studies on secondary effects of COVID and who was actually affected with COVID, the most serious issues that they've had. And I think it's no secret that the vast majority were obese.
Yes.
And that's something you can't control. Diabetes, you can't control your age, but you can control, what you put in your body.
Yeah.
And I understand it's definitely socioeconomic, where buying a 2-liter bottle of Coke for $2 is more cost beneficial than buying a juice
Or buying.
or buying water,
Yeah.
100%, or buying beer. I get that, but I think there's other countries that are less fortunate than Canada, and they have a larger poverty rate, but their obesity rate is much less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's an argument I'd like to put out there. But hey, I'm I just have I'm my undergrad. That's it. So I don't have a postgrad. But
The ideal would be purposeful poverty, but that's another reality in itself.
yeah, but I think this has. I don't want to use this term woke. Hopefully, this wakes the country in regards to how important health and wellness is, and the government should be helping. And there's a Yusuf, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There's the Fitness Industry Council of Canada.
Right.
Okay, and they've been pushing forever to get tax credits for fitness memberships.
Yeah, I think that was at one point too. I remember a couple of my clients who worked for the big banks.
Yeah.
He was the top exec, and they used to give him an allowance every year to go.
So that's the bank. So that's a company, but I mean the government actually subsidizing the health and wellness of people that want to, I guess, take charge of their wellness, so that on the back end, you're not relying as much on the government. And OHIP, I think at the end of the day, I think our expiration date, let's just say, is 80 years old.
Yeah.
So the goal, I think, is going to be, or should be, to maximize, okay, I'm going to live till 79 optimally, and then last year I'm not going to be great. But if you have a diet that's caca and you're not taking care of yourself and you're eating McDonald's every other day and in between you're having snacks at Burger King, you're not going to be, you're arguably the last 20 years at 60, you're going to be in the system on medication from 60 to 80. So the expiration is always the same, but, relying on the system will be much greater. So then that's the whole argument with Fitness Industry Canada. But again, there is unfortunately to push for some of these changes costs a lot of money, and pharma and the big banks, or these other industries that are much bigger usually get their arguments heard more.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to, like you said, is there is it more cost effective to basically teach a man how to fish, or to feed him every day? And I think in the long run, if teaching people more fitness, healthy lifestyle, educating people on good nutrition and stuff, and this is something that was never implemented in the school level, but maybe they should start implementing like a wellness instructor. Well, I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe like at their primary school level, showing them, okay, this is good food. This is, and then each year progressing. So eventually the kids know how to cook for themselves. They know what is good, what is not good, what is a treat. I would say, let's just say, put it that way. We don't want to get in hot water with somebody, but what is basically a treat and what is basically real food. And I think when you start with that, and then also getting people more active, not just from a sport perspective. I think sport is definitely a vehicle, but I heard a very sobering statistic from a guy who was potentially interviewing for kids in sports in the state, about 75% dropout rate in kids sports at the age of 13, 14. And I think that's not a good thing, because you got to look at it from a perspective of, you want to keep these kids active lifestyle throughout their, right? I mean, I retired many years from cycling, but I still keep a level of shape just because of my lifestyle. Like it's like you said, I think that the key word here is lifestyle. Instilling that kind of lifestyle of motion and also eating properly, I think is the key. And I think if the government can sort of get in on that, I think long-term wise, it would save them a lot of money healthcare wise. And I mean, all the people who've got, metabolic issues like diabetes, cirrhosis, all these things, heart disease, cancer, all these things pertain back to lifestyle. It's been proven. So it's nothing that we're not saying anything new here. So, but
if they change the laws and regulations for smoking,
yes.
And if you buy, I'm not sure if you've seen a cigarette pack, this pack can cause cancer.
Yes.
I'm wondering what the reaction would be if they put that on a can of Coke.
Or a candy bar. Yeah.
Or a candy bar. Because at the end of the day, it's I'm not in a situation where I'm pretty passionate about that. About what's going on with what we're eating and what they're pushing us to eat and what's genetically modified and what's available. I'll tell you a funny story.
Go ahead.
So I was in Italy, and a few years back, and my daughter loves strawberries. So I go to the grocery store. There's no strawberries. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this place? It was in the summer, don't forget, right?
Seasonal.
So I go to another grocery store. No strawberries. I go to the third grocery store. I go, where are the strawberries here? They looked at me like I had a third eye. Like, oh, the strawberries aren't in season.
That's right.
And then I told my aunt this story, and she's like, you know what, you Americans or North Americans with your food, in what world do we live in that you can find a seedless watermelon? How does that make sense? A seedless watermelon, seedless grapes.
Yes.
Like that is, she has a point, man. Like I didn't realize it. That just blows my mind, and what we're putting into our bodies, and you're having a large segment of the world population that has never been healthier because they're taking advantage of them. They're watching what they're eating, they're exercising, and you have the demographic of the most unhealthiest people that have ever lived, that probably arguably in the same socioeconomic range, living in the same area, going to the same schools, and now even more so with social media, what kids are seeing, social media, and what people are willing to push for $1.
Yeah.
When they have a lot of dollars, it doesn't make sense why they're pushing what they're pushing with the money that they're already making.
Yeah, I think the expression is, you need to get healthy to lose the fat, not lose the fat to get healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that when you start doing that, then you got to look at, okay, well, how do I get healthy now? And I think that's one of the problems with the industry in the fitness field is everybody's trying to lose fat. I'm like, I don't want to get into it, but you need to get healthy first. Once you get healthy, the fat will come off because your body will actually selectively want to burn that.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy, your body actually keeps the fat because fat is a survival tissue. It's several things to the body, and it's insulator, protector of soft tissue, fuel source, storage of toxins. And I always forget the fifth one. It's probably like the B in nutrition.
No. But to circle back, I think people are gonna go back to health and wellness centers to get fit because along this journey, they realize how important their well-being is to fight disease, to combat these sicknesses. They have to be healthier, and if they can't do it by themselves, they're going to be going to specialists like yourself, to facilities where they can be taught to stretch or to exercise to get their immune system stronger. And the reason why that reference where I had all the fitness locations within 100 meters of each other, because we're all different. We all learn different, and some people are attracted to the low-cost model. Some people are attracted to the high-cost model. Some people want that one-on-one service.
Yes, true.
So, again, it's to get them on this journey to feeling better and to living their life optimally. And
right.
They're going to need, when you're young, you have a coach. Whatever you do, you have a teacher in school, you have a basketball coach.
That's
and
true.
Then as you get older, you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do, right? And you see a lot of the most successful people, they have business coaches or mentors or, and I see people really, this field expanding, a fitness mentor or a trainer. I see that growing.
I think that's a key thing, and that's one of the things. The idea of health and wellness, as opposed to, I think they've been pushing the agenda of like you got to be an athlete, you got to be an athlete. I think not everybody can do that, but if they can remain maintain a level of health, what we call optimal health, at least, that they can still function. They can go play a pickup game of football on the weekend and not feel sore. You don't necessarily have to score in the winning touchdown, make that grab like Odell Beckham. But the idea is you can play still. You can move from activity to activity, right? So you have a level of what we call physical intelligence. And I think that's the key thing with that whole health and wellness model, is that's what needs to be propagated more so now than probably, I think, in the past. It was all about, becoming an athlete or something like that to be, pushing that, or you have to reach a certain VO2 max or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I think that's basically where the trend definitely should be going. But I agree with you. But listen, it's been. You want to add anything to more to? Do you think we covered most of these things? I think we did a pretty good job. But if you go ahead, the floor is yours.
I think we covered what I feel about the industry.
Okay, good.
I think it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Like for my colleagues in the industry, I know it's been a little bit shaky, but I firmly believe the next 6 to 12 months might be shaky, but 12 to 60 months, it's going to be like a rocket ship. It's going to be like a rocket ship. I think the industry, the health and wellness industry, this has awakened a lot of people that were silent, that addressed a lot of people. Hey, I'm not well. I got to take better care of myself. And yeah, man. Hopefully, I answered some of your questions. And
yeah.
And again, the fitness side, the business of fitness, sometimes gets lost. It's more business than fitness.
Yeah.
But the end goal is always to help people's lives be better.
Yes.
And yeah, man. So I think I touched on everything. Hopefully I answered everything you wanted to know. And if you have any other questions, or if you think about anything else, you can have me back on, and we could talk about the dark side of the health and wellness industry.
I think that would be a good one. Definitely, for sure. I'll hit you up for that one. That's a good one there. So, but it's been great. I really appreciate your time again, Alfonso. And I love to have you again. I think you've given some really good insights, and I think we're heading in the right direction. I think so.
For sure.
So let's sign off. Alfonso D'Alessio.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Yusuf.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you. Bye.
TheSystem.ca podcast disclaimer. We're not here to tell you that we know everything. We're just here to present possibilities. The information presented is by no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. The information should be used in conjunction with the guidance and care of your physician. Consult your physician before beginning this program, as you would with any other exercise nutrition program. If you choose not to obtain consent of your physician and or work with your physician throughout the duration of your time using the recommendations given, you are agreeing to accept full responsibility for your actions. By continuing, you recognize that despite all precautions on the part of the system, the art and science of coaching, there are risks of injuries or illness which can occur because of your use of the aforementioned information, and you expressly assume risks and waive, relinquish, and release any claim which you have against the system, the art and science of coaching, or any of its affiliates as a result of any future physical or illness incurred in connection with or as a result of the use or misuse of this information given. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or any other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the system, the art and science of coaching, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button. Check out TheSystem.ca for more information on services and more content like this, and also products. Take care.